Note on funding. The FAA will be seeking additional funding from Congress to support the brand new air traffic control system. So where's the money coming from? They don't have it. Welcome to the Flight Levels. Today, we're diving into something that's not just concerning, but frankly insulting to thousands of aviation professionals across the country. I'm talking about the FAA's alleged plan to upgrade the National Airspace System. Because honestly, it sounds so crazy, it feels like it came straight out of a bad sci-fi movie. Let's get to it. Real quick, if you're enjoying this content, please click the subscribe button right here. It really helps YouTube share my channel. On May 8th, Secretary Duffy's Department of Transportation released the brand new Air Traffic Control System Plan document. This 8-page plan lays out what they call critical actions for the FAA. It talks about replacing antiquated telecommunications, replacing hundreds of radars, building new centers, and installing modern hardware and software across our facilities. When I heard Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy say that back on May 8th, my first thought wasn't, wow, that's amazing. It was, is this guy for real? Has he seen our current system, or is he just reading off a teleprompter handed to him by someone who hasn't stepped foot in an air traffic control facility since the 90s? Because honestly, that timeline, that ambition, it sounds like pure fantasy. They claim this brand new system is needed because our existing technology is antiquated. Now, as someone who works at the FAA, my job involves maintaining the automation of ERAM, the very system that runs our critical air route traffic control centers. My peers and I, along with thousands of air traffic controllers and technicians, have dedicated our entire careers to maintaining and keeping the National Airspace System running safely and efficiently. So, to have Secretary Duffy essentially stand up there and say, everything you've been doing sucks, it's all broken, and we need a whole new system built in 3 years, well, frankly, it's an insult. It's an insult to our professionalism, our expertise, and the decades of work that have made our airspace the safest in the world. This isn't just about antiquated tech, this feels like pure gaslighting. Then we get to the really head-scratching part. The part that makes me wonder if Secretary Duffy is intentionally trying to mislead the public. Replacing 618 radars. Now, if you've watched my previous video about air traffic control surveillance, you know this is where the wheels completely come off the bus. Let me be blunt. Air traffic controllers do not primarily use radar anymore for tracking aircraft. That's a 20th century technology, and while still present, it's not our main tool. Our primary surveillance source, the backbone of how we see airplanes in the sky, is ADS-B. It's a revolutionary technology, more accurate, with better coverage, significantly cheaper to maintain, and guess what? It's already in use at all TRACONs and air traffic control centers. So, why in the world would we be spending untold billions, probably tens of billions, replacing 618 radars that are largely redundant? Is it because someone in DC thinks radar sounds more high-tech than ADS-B to the average taxpayer? This isn't just inefficient. It feels like they're trying to fix a problem that's already been solved, or worse, making a massive unnecessary expenditure on something that's rapidly becoming obsolete. This is a classic gaslighting, telling you something is broken when we've already fixed it just to push a new, ill-conceived agenda. Next, building 6 new air traffic control centers and replacing towers, along with installing new modern hardware and software for all air traffic facilities. Yes, some of our facilities are old, and yes, some hardware and software do need refreshing, but saying we need to build 6 entirely new centers in just 3 years, that's not ambitious, that's outright delusional. Do you know what it takes to build 1 new air traffic control center? Years of planning, design, environmental studies, procurement, construction, and then years of testing and transitioning operations while the old facility stays online. To suggest we can do 6 of those, plus begin replacing hundreds of towers and install a new hardware and software everywhere in just 3 years, that time frame is purely for political consumption. And let's not forget the human element. Building 6 new centers would imply a massive, disruptive relocation for thousands of highly specialized air traffic controllers and support staff from our existing 20 centers. This isn't just moving desks, it's uprooting lives, impacting families, and risking a brain drain from the very workforce essential to making this system run. All in 3 years? Unfathomable. Now, you might think, okay, maybe Sean Duffy got a bit carried away in his speech. I honestly tried to dismiss it as nonsense and move on. But then, on June 3rd, the FAA doubled down. They issued an RFI, or a request for information, pertaining to Secretary Duffy's brand new state-of-the-art air traffic control system. For those not familiar, an RFI is basically the government's way of putting out feelers. They're asking potential contractors, hey, we're thinking of doing this really big thing. What are your ideas on how to do it? What capabilities do you have? Can you even do this? It's usually a preliminary step to gather information before they even decide how to proceed or write up a formal request for bids. And this RFI is where the alarm bells really started clanging. The FAA is seeking what they call an integrator to make this vision a reality. And I quote, "The integrator would be fully responsible for executing the Secretary's vision for the brand new ATC. Fully responsible for a multi-billion-dollar project with an impossible time frame." My jaw hit the floor. Further down the RFI, the questions they're asking potential contractors just reinforce how utterly clueless or disingenuous this whole plan is. They're basically asking, how are you going to manage the finances for a project of this unimaginable size? How are you going to contain costs? And most incredibly, how are you going to ensure the entire project is completed by the end of 2028? That's less than 3.5 years from now. They also want to know, how will you enforce and incentivize meeting or beating this impossible schedule? And how will you accelerate the testing process to facilitate rapid adoption of technology? Seriously? The FAA, the supposed experts, are asking contractors how to achieve these frankly miraculous feats. It screams of an agency being handed an impossible political mandate and then trying to pawn off the execution and the blame onto some poor contractor. Then the RFI addresses timeline and budget, stating this project is on an accelerated timeline. Note on funding. The FAA will be seeking additional funding from Congress to support the brand new air traffic control system. So where's the money coming from? They don't have it. They're hoping Congress will cough up additional funding for a multi-billion, perhaps tens of billions, dollar project with an impossible timeline. This is the same Congress that has historically struggled to provide consistent, robust funding for one of the FAA's ongoing modernization efforts like NextGen, which, by the way, cost over $14 billion and still face delays. This accelerated timeline in meeting or beating the schedule from the RFI, this, for anyone who truly understands aviation safety, is where the whole plan becomes not just absurd, but potentially dangerous. In our world, speed and safety are often in direct opposition, especially when dealing with incredibly complex systems. When you try to cram a project of this magnitude, rebuilding the entire backbone of our air traffic control system into a mere 3 years, what gets compromised? Quality, testing, training, safety. There's a mountain of evidence, both in aviation and other critical infrastructure, that shows rushing leads to errors, cost overruns, and ultimately compromises safety. History is littered with tragic examples of what happens when the drive for speed, cost savings, or political pressure overrides rigorous safety protocols. We saw it with the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster in 1986. Investigations revealed a culture where schedule pressure on NASA and its contractors led to critical warnings about O-rings being downplayed or ignored. The rush to launch directly contributed to the loss of 7 astronauts. More recently, the Boeing 737 MAX 8 crashes in 2018 and 2019, which killed 346 people, serve as another horrifying reminder. Multiple investigations, including by the NTSB and Congress, highlighted how immense pressure to deliver aircraft quickly and cheaply led to corners being cut in design, certification, and pilot training. A new system, the MCAS, was developed with insufficient oversight and testing, and its catastrophic failures directly caused the accidents. The drive for speed and competitive advantage ultimately cost lives and devastated a company's reputation. These aren't isolated incidents. Studies on critical infrastructure projects repeatedly show that intense time pressure, coupled with ambitious cost-saving incentives, can lead to reduced attention to detail, impaired decision-making, increased human error, and a temptation to take shortcuts. This isn't theoretical, it's a well-known risk in our industry. So when Secretary Duffy talks about a brand new state-of-the-art system in 3 years, what I hear is a profound disconnect from the reality of maintaining the safest airspace in the world. Safety isn't just a buzzword, it's the result of meticulous planning, careful execution, and sufficient time for every single phase of development and implementation. Trying to fast-track this kind of transformation isn't just ambitious, it's a gamble with public safety, and history shows us the stakes of that gamble are incredibly high. They want a contractor to perform miracles while the FAA magically retains control and capabilities on a project they're completely outsourcing due to an impossible timeline. It's a contradiction wrapped in an enigma with a huge price tag. And if you need more proof of how rushed and ill-conceived this is, look at their proposed schedule to contract award. Think about that. They received information from potential contractors. Then less than 2 months later, they want to release a full solicitation, receive proposals for a multi-billion-dollar nationwide project, and award a contract. All by September 30th? This isn't a careful, deliberate process for a critical national infrastructure project. This is a mad dash to award a contract before the political winds shift, before someone in Congress asks too many questions, or before the public realizes just how nonsensical this entire proposal truly is. So, what are we seeing here? We're seeing a Department of Transportation secretary making grand, unrealistic promises. We're seeing an FAA that appears to be either completely out of touch with the reality of our current air traffic control system, the one that thousands of dedicated professionals like myself work tirelessly to maintain every single day, or worse, deliberately trying to mislead the American public with buzzwords like brand new and state-of-the-art, while pushing an impossible timeline and a massive unfunded expenditure. This isn't about genuinely upgrading our airspace. This feels like a performative act, a politically motivated scramble to announce a huge project without any real understanding of the technical complexities, the financial implications, or the sheer impossibility of the timeline. And when it comes to the safety and efficiency of our national airspace system, that is a deeply, deeply concerning prospect. I sincerely hope that cooler heads prevail, that industry, and most importantly, the seasoned professionals within the FAA, can push back against this frankly ridiculous plan before it wastes billions of taxpayer dollars and potentially compromises the safest and most complex airspace system in the world. This is just the first update. As more events unfold, we'll have another update right here on the Flight Levels. In the meantime, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this plan? Does it sound real to you? Are you as concerned as I am? Let me know in the comments below. If you have found this breakdown concerning, please share this video. The more people who understand the reality of this situation, the better. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for future updates on this unfolding situation. Remember, don't just fly, climb to the flight levels. If you enjoyed this video, click here to see how to fly IFR and VFR on the same flight. You're going to love it.